What's going on, everybody? Jolt here from the Token Minorities, and I am joined by my lovely co-host, RizzyPOW. Say hello.
Hi, this is RizzyPOW.
And we are here for your CPC Season 4 Power Rankings, the preseason show. I'm sure you guys have been looking forward to this for a long time. I know we have, as this season is looking to be very competitive for sure in the CPC. Lots of really solid players, and just from looking at the drafts here before the season's even started, we can tell it's going to be a dandy of a season.
A dandy.
A dandy.
Yep.
Yep. All right. So we're just going to go ahead and jump on into this. So the general
Happy
idea.
birthday, Joel.
Oh, thanks, Riz. Happy birthday to Jolt. Make sure to leave that in the comments below and smash that like button if you want to wish me a happy birthday. But basically what the plan's going to be for these videos, we're going to try to keep them around 30 minutes. And obviously we do apologize if they go beyond that, as it's kind of tough to fit the whole thing in 30 minutes, but we don't want to drag it on either. But we're also going to just try to alternate back and forth between each team for this preseason power rankings, as we don't want to bore you again with just repeating the same thing over and over again. So we're going to try to keep it concise in that way. And I think that's pretty much all of the announcements per se to start things off. I don't know if you have anything else you want to throw out there for now.
No, I don't think so. I think that's good.
Okay, so with that said, we're going to go ahead and dive on into this. So at the number 16 spot, we both have the Arkham City Delibirds, coached by, I believe, A12 QSD. Sorry if I got the letters wrong. I think that's right, A12 QSD. His team is, I'm going to pull this up real quick, and his team is Tapu Koko, Diggersby, Mega Sharpedo, Alamomola, Mandibuzz, Weezing, Azumarill, Blissey, Druddigon, Magnezone, and Archeops. Now, before I talk about critique this team at all, every single draft here is a good draft. I don't think any of these are bad drafts per se, but someone has to be at number 16, despite the caliber of player that we all know A12 is. We both felt that his draft maybe had the most flaws out of all of the drafts in the league. That said, it's still a solid draft. The Tapu Koko Diggersby core is something that nobody really wants to switch into, especially when that has a Mega Sharpedo lurking in the back, as well as things like the Magnezone and the Azumarill. And quite honestly, even Archeops is not something you want to switch into defensively, as Archeops is also the Z captain of this team, making it really a enormous powerhouse with a Z Crystal powering up the head smashes especially, but I know it also gets a lot of other pretty cool offensive coverage moves. And I'm not entirely sure actually on the Z rules for the CPC. Do you know if they're allowing support Z moves?
Oh shit, I don't remember that. No.
Yeah, I'm not. I think they probably are, because quite honestly, most of them aren't broken. But you know, I guess let us know in the comments, or we'll talk with Joey later and figure out what the deal is on that. But if it does allow Z support moves, I'm sure Archeops has a few pretty cool options there as well. Now, the reasons, the primary reasons for me why I have this team at the bottom is one is defensive versatility is not that great in my opinion, in that Alamomola is pretty much setup fodder. Mandibuzz is pretty much setup fodder. Weezing is kind of setup fodder. It's not the most reliable wall in the world, that's what I'll say. And Blissey is also, to an extent, setup fodder. So I really do think that his defensive mons are an issue for this team, despite how powerful his offensive threats are. And just based upon how his team is designed, I feel like certain setup sweepers could give him a really hard time, especially considering all of his offensive mons are also very frail. So I think that combination could give him a fair amount of trouble this season. And on top of that, even his offensive mons aren't that versatile either. From personal experience with Azumarill, that thing is as one-dimensional as it gets. It's running Choice Band or Belly Drum every week, and there's not a whole lot else it's really going to do well. Sure, it can run some defensive sets, but generally those aren't they're not really optimal when you have an Azumarill on your team. That said, defensively, it makes a little bit of sense to run more of a defensive Azumarill here, specifically to help with things that are like have fighting stab as well as something to hit Weezing. That could make Azumarill a lot better defensively on this team, but just thinking about it offensively, not the most versatile thing in the world. And as in addition to that, the Diggersby, that's pretty versatile. Tapu Koko, kind of versatile, not so much. Mega Sharpedo, pretty straightforward as well. So not really digging the versatility of this team overall, but I know A12 is a solid player. So, prove me wrong. I think you will prove me wrong. Just let me see it in action. So that's all I have to say on his team. We're going to kick on over to RizzyPOW for number 15.
All right, so at number 14, I actually put Shadow in the Connecticut Crocodiles. I almost said Coconut Crocodiles, as I actually said earlier. But that will not be in this recording because it's going to be cut out.
Oh, no, that'll be there.
No.
Check out the blooper reel at the end of the video. That'll be there.
No. But yeah, I put him number 14. So the reason why I put them number 14 a bit lower, just because he doesn't have like a ton of offensive pressure. His only thing that's also like fast is Scolipede, which is like, it's a really good revenge killer and everything, but it's still like, as your only like fast mon, it doesn't have the best, like it's not that powerful like at a base 100 attack. It has like strong coverage moves, not coverage moves, but his strong moves like Mega Horn, but I don't think that 100 makes up for it. But it's a good mon. I just feel that he should have had a lot more speed on this team. He has some pretty nice bulk though. Mega Steelix is actually a really good mon. And really underrated, as well as Porygon 2. His bulk looks pretty nice, and Mew is always a great pick. But also to go along with his offense, I know I only named Scolipede, but he does have like Salamence as well as Primarina, and Salamence is his Z move mon, which is going to be hitting really hard and definitely a huge threat. But besides Salamence and Scolipede, he doesn't have the best offense. He does have Primarina. But Primarina is kind of slow, as well as it's his round 3 pick, which I didn't think Primarina was worth a round 3 pick. I think it's a really underrated mon. It's really good, and it hits super hard. But I don't know if it was worth a round 3 pick either. Just overall, his team just seems a bit clunky to me, but I do like his bulk a lot on this team. So yeah, Mew, Mega Steelix, Porygon 2, and I guess even like Golbat, Hitmontop, that looks pretty nice defensively. But yeah. Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah. So for my number 14 and RizzyPOW's number 13, we have the Brisbane Breloom, coached by Aberforth. And his team is Manaphy, Zygarde 50%, Nihilego, Togekiss, Lucario, Swellow, Marowak, Alola, Rotom-Mow, and Mega Glalie. So with the Z Captain being the Lucario, which is definitely a really cool choice on his end. So this is probably one of the best offensive teams in the entire league. I don't think there's really much of a question on that, as Manaphy is just something that every team has to be very, very prepped for if they don't want to get swept by a tail glow set. Zygarde 50% can pretty much set up on the entire draft. Like, I don't think there's very few things that can directly prevent Zygarde from just setting up a Dragon Dance without fear of dying, as Zygarde is just that fat and that strong and that good with 1,000 Arrows that combination of Zygarde Manaphy can really carry his team. Not to mention that is also supplemented or complemented by Nihilego and Z Lucario and these really hard hitters in Mega Glalie and the Alola Marowak in the back. So very, very good offensive team. That said, where's the defense? There is literally no defense on this team. The only things that can really kind of suffice for a defensive purpose are things like the Togekiss, I guess Manaphy to an extent. Zygarde can, but it doesn't have recovery, so I really wouldn't count that as a defensive mon. And the Rotom-Mow is the only other one that can even try to run more of a defensive set. And that's really something that I personally like seeing in drafts that are more offensive like this. I like to see Pokemon that can also double back as more of a defensive option as well. And there's not really anything that resembles that sort of defensive core on this team, especially considering the two bulkiest things on this team, the two bulkiest members of his team being the Manaphy and the Togekiss, I believe that's right. Both of those are still weak to electricity, so if there's an offensive electric type that outspeeds his whole team that happens to have Hidden Power Ice for the Zygarde, like, what do you do? So I suppose that's why he decided to draft Alola Marowak, which is a very good call on his part, but I do see that being a potential issue for his team, powerful bolt beam coverage with something that can also hit the Marowak. So that's something he might struggle with. It also is pretty weak to Stealth Rocks overall, having Togekiss, Swellow, Alola Marowak, and Mega Glalie all weak to Stealth Rock, as well as most of his team just generally not appreciating them at all. And probably the biggest issue, though, with this team is it doesn't have a Psychic Resist either, and if I remember looking at this schedule correctly, he's got Mega Medicham in week 1, and he's going to have a really fun time switching into that, and by that I mean he's not switching into that, he's going to lose a Pokemon every time Mega Medicham hits the field. So we'll see how he handles that here in week 1, but that'll definitely be interesting. I also like to see a little bit more offensive, or just momentum in general, on a team that's this offensive with this few switch-ins to other things, as he only really has momentum in the form of U-turn on Swellow and Volt Switch on Rotom-Mow. I guess U-turn on Manaphy if he wants to run that. That's not too common, but I definitely could see him doing that, considering the makeup of his team. But if you're going to have a team this frail, momentum is seriously key, and he doesn't really have enough momentum, in my opinion, to really take advantage of how offensive his team is. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. I know Abe generally drafts in this sort of style where he doesn't have many switch-ins. He's not the kind of person that wants to have switch-ins, but we'll see how his team does this season. Abe's definitely a solid player, so I'm sure he can prove me wrong as well, and try to prove that he belongs in the top half of the power rankings. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and slide him in there at number 14. So back on over to Riz for Virginia Tech.
All right, so Virginia Tech Froakies, I actually put them pretty low at number 15, and and Jolt actually put them number 13. His draft is Garchomp, Mega Venusaur, Zapdos, Hoopla Bound, Bronzong, Jellicent, Aromatisse, Aerodactyl, Cinccino, and Toxicroak. So the reason why I put him a bit low, it was also hard. His team is actually a pretty solid team. It just I felt it was just a bit under par. The reason why is, like, first of all, I know I said it for the last team, but team again is kind of slow. He has Garchomp at 101. He has Mega Aerodactyl. He has Aerodactyl like base 130. His speed gaps, that's kind of a huge speed gap. And again, Aerodactyl as his fastest mon at 130. You want that to be a great revenge shooter. And it is actually a Z captain, which is really good for him. But again, it is weak to rocks, as like it's weak to rocks. His only hazard removal is also weak to rocks, so he's going to be pressured to defog a lot. And again, Zapdos, I feel like, is a mon that really likes the four moves it can run on it, especially on this team when he has a Hoop Unbound, and you really want to get momentum with Hoop Unbound. So he wants to run like U-turn or Volt Switch every week on Zapdos. Maybe not every week, but like he'd want to do it just to get stuff like Hoopa in and Garchomp and stuff. I mean, he also does have Cinccino, but like Cinccino is like, I guess I did say that his speed gaps were kind of weird when they jump from 101 to 130. He does have a Cinccino, but Cinccino is not like a good, like, it's not really the greatest mon. It's like, for example, like your opponent brings a Rocky Helmet, Cinccino is just dead. It's not that weak. It has some coverage. Just the Rocky Helmet, even if you're not preparing for a Cinccino, Rocky Helmet is just a common item, and if he does have a Cinccino, people can just swap Rocky Helmet. It's a good item, even if he doesn't even bring Cinccino. But what I do like about his team, though, is the Zapdos make a Hoopa and Bound core. That's pretty good, even though he doesn't have a ton of momentum. Besides Zapdos, Zapdos I feel like is one of the best momentum gainers with Volt Switch and U-turn, and getting those slow Volt Switch or U-turns into maybe like a Scarf or even Banded Hoopa can actually be really good for this team. So that's what I got to say about the Virginia Tech Froakies.
All right, so then for my number 12 and for Riz's number 10, we have the Arizona Dactyls, coached by John, aka Volume, I believe is what he's going by. So this team is pretty interesting, and I actually like it a lot, especially his first few picks. So he has the Jirachi, Sylveon, Hydreigon, Donphan, Entei, Serperior, Mega Medicham, Lantern, Articuno, and Slacking. So this is the guy that's going to destroy Abe with Mega Medicham. But, so looking at this Dragon Steel Fairy Core, that's what I love so much on this team. The Jirachi, Sylveon, Hydreigon. Offensively, that will be so valuable for him throughout the season, as even just Jirachi plus plus a fairy type alone is really, really good defensively. But when you add on a Hydreigon, which is one of the most underrated dragons in the format, it's something that's going to be a difficult force to be reckoned with throughout the season. But then he also has the superior Mega Medicham in the back to really punch holes, as well as really the Entei in opposing teams. So overall, this team is very solid, especially with the Z Captain being the Jirachi, which makes it more of an offensive threat than it normally would be otherwise, as Jirachi without a Z move really does need an offensive boost from Calm Mind, usually from Calm Mind, to be able to be an offensive threat at all, honestly. But my biggest issue with this team, and the reason why I have it still in the lower half, is its speed tiers. So if you look down at speed tiers, I can count 3-4 Pokemon at the exact same speed tier, and that's something you always most of the time you want to avoid that. Where he has the Jirachi, the Entei, the Mega Medicham, and the Slacking all at base 100. Base 100 is a very common speed tier, and for that reason I can understand how, I guess why he ended up drafting so many Pokemon at the same speed tier. But when it comes to your opponent's prep, that makes it so much easier for them to creep, because they are simply able to creep things down to that level, or they can essentially, if they expect you to creep down further, they can add a ton more bulk on their Pokemon because you don't have anything that's faster than that outside of the superior, I believe. I'm not positive on Articuno's speed tier. I think it might be roughly the same area, but I know that Hydreigon is slower than base 100, and yeah, so that makes Superior the only thing faster than that. So I feel like there's a very big speed tier gap between the Serp, which is slightly under 115, or slightly, it hits, what does it hit at level 100? Does it hit 357? I think, so that makes it below base 115, I think. I'm doing this all off the top of my head. I think that's about right. But anyways, there's a speed tier gap. There's a lot of base 100s. I think opponents can definitely take advantage of that. And the other big issue I had with this team was the number of setup threats, the number of win cons, as the only things that really resemble, at least at face value, the only things that really resemble serious win cons on his team in terms of being a setup threat is the Superior, and to an extent the Jirachi with Calm Mind. As looking at this team defensively, I think the Sylveon's almost always going to be a Wish Protect variant, making Calm Mind a little bit less viable on it, just because he really needs Sylveon for its defensive abilities more so than more of an offensive set that a Calm Mind Sylveon would be able to provide for him. But then again, of course, in the right matchup, Calm Mind Sylveon could still be good. But, overall the team is good. And really, we're getting to the point now, at least in my side of the rankings, where I think all these teams here in the middle are very, very close. And it just so happened to me to think that Arizona was just slightly below many of the teams, just barely above him, just because of mainly the speed tiers, honestly. In this situation, it was the speed tiers that dragged him down a little bit. But I really do think Jirachi, Sylveon, Hydreigon could carry him, especially with the Mega Medicham and Superior and Entei and just all these threats upon threats on this team. So it'll be interesting to see how this team does this season. But that's about all I have to say there.
All right, so the next team we want to talk about is the Adelaide Didingos, Verd.
My man Verd.
So, yeah, we had him a bit controversial, I guess, between us. Jolt has him 5, and I put him number 12. So we're going to talk about this team together a little bit. So, let me look up his team. So his team is Weavile, Victini, Mega Blastoise, Galvantula, Terrakion, Dragonite, Whimsicott, Steelix, Rotom, and Mesprit. So now this team is amazing offensively, and I guess he does have some defensive pivots like Steelix and Rotom and Mesprit, and those. I mean, Whimsicott also can be defensive as well, and I guess even Blastoise. But the thing I didn't like about his team was that I feel like he relies on Mega Blastoise to a lot more than he should. His ground type is Steelix, which is he's not going to bring Steelix that often. His only rocker, but he has 3 rockers. He has Terrakion, and then he has Steelix and Mesprit. Steelix and Mesprit's a really good mon, but there's still his lower tier mons, and if he doesn't want to bring rocks on Terrakion every week, he's going to have to bring them on Mesprit every week, and that means Mesprit's going to come every week, which I feel like Mesprit's a really good mon, but I don't feel like it's a mon that every week could come. I guess it could. It's really diverse. And then the same with Steelix. Steelix is just so underwhelming, and it just setup fodder a lot of the time. It can be setup fodder a lot of the time. And again, his team, all of his offense is weak to rocks. He has webs though, and I think it's besides WeBow. I mean, his team isn't actually that slow. So yeah, I was about to say something. Never mind. But yeah, it just really rocks weak. It relies on like Steelix as a ground type as well. So just wasn't the hugest fan of it, but I'm sure Verd will do well because Verd's like a really good player and Verd's great. But yeah.
Yeah, so my thought on the team was, like, I do see what you're saying. I agree with a lot of your points as well. Like, his offense is really, really good, and it is, for the most part, weak to Stealth Rocks. So the Weavile, Victini, Dragonite, all of those, very, very threatening, but if Stealth Rocks are up, that's not too great. But the thing is, he does have the Mega Blastoise, which many people do consider, including myself, to be the best Rapid Spinner in the format. Now, Blastoise does have a lot of pressure on it with this team, but he also does have Healing Wish Mesprit, which I can almost guarantee will come frequently this season to help keep the Mega Blastoise alive whenever Mega Blastoise is really essential. He also has a lot of ways to maintain momentum on his team so that Mega Blastoise isn't going to be pressured to take a lot of hits, because he has things like the Victini, the Whimsicott, the Rotom, and the Mesprit, and the Galvantula. All of those get momentum moves in Volt Switch or U-Turn. And I don't think I think that's all on that. So when he's able to maintain momentum with an offensive core of Weavile, Victini, Terrakion, Dragonite, there are no switch-ins to that, and that's why I like the team so much. There's literally no switch-ins to that combination, especially with the Dragonite being his Z captain, having the access to Z Outrage or Z Fly, pick your poison. Either way, it's going to get a kill because that's how good Z moves are on an offensive dragon like that. So I just think that his offenses and momentum are so good that despite the fact that his defenses are admittedly subpar, I don't think Blastoise is going to be pressured as much as what it might look like on paper. So that's I guess where I differ from Riz on our rankings, but again, we'll just see how Verd does this season, as it's definitely a team that could be really good. It could also go exactly how Riz is expecting, so we'll see on that for sure.
Well, another point, just one more point. So about Mega Blastoise, yeah, he's Rock Weak and he has Mega Blastoise, but again, like I guess he has Healing Wish Mesprit, but I didn't like mention it, so that's why I'm talking about it again. But Mega Blastoise is also pressure, plus like if he gets rocks up, it chips down his team like a lot, and every time Mega Blastoise has to come in, it's taking 12%, and it's not even 100%, like, it's not 100% even guaranteed to spin if, like, your opponent is playing really aggressively and just not allowing to spin, he's just going to get chipped down a lot. That's what I just feel, but it's not like it's not a bad team at all. I actually do like the team a lot, and I hope Verd does well, because Verd's great.
And like he can also support that with Leech Seed on Whimsicott. That could be like I'm interested in hearing his reasoning on why he drafted Whimsicott with this team. As it feels kind of is weird. I'd like to see a Wish Passer Fairy there, because that really helps Blastoise a lot. But maybe the Leech Seed support plus the momentum was something he valued more. Just a thought to think about there.
True.
But all right, so the next person to talk about here is my man Rob Jr. and his Dallas Starmies. I have him ranked down at number 11, and Riz has him ranked up at number 7. Now let me pull up his draft real quick. He has Celesteela, which is his Z captain, Megaladios, Crocodile, Suicune, Mimikyu, Salazzle, Heracross, Garbodor, Rhydon, and Electivire. So definitely a threatening team, especially his Dragon, Fairy, Steel Core, having 3 of the best mons in the format, period. Having the Celesteela, the Megaladios, and the Mimikyu. Mimikyu really turning into a very good underrated threat in the format with the new ability. What is that ability called? Is it Disguise? There we go. With the Disguise ability allowing him to essentially bail himself out of any situation, considering no matter if it's taking Stealth Rock damage or whatever, it's still a free substitute, and it's going to take the damage once from anything and be able to revenge kill it. So setup threats essentially are not that big of an issue for his team because of that. And with Celesteela being his Z captain, that makes it much more of an offensive threat as well, and having access to Beast Boost, that can only mean good things for his team. Sorry, something in my throat. But the Megaladios, as well, as many people have already shown, being one of the best Megas in the format too. So I really think that combination is going to help his team a lot for sure. Now, one of the bigger issues I guess I saw with this team was it is a little slow. Outside of the Mega Latios and I guess the Salazzle, it is a pretty slow team overall, which might hurt him a little bit, especially considering I believe his only priority option is the Shadow Speak Mimikyu. I'm looking through his team one more time to verify that. I'm not seeing any others that are jumping out immediately. I'm not sure if Garbodor gets like Shadow Sneak or Sucker Punch or anything, but yeah, I don't think he has any priority options outside of Mimikyu, which might be an issue for his team considering he is overall relatively slow. He has a lot of things that can be set up on, and if Mimikyu's disguise is broken, that could definitely be an issue for his team defensively, as his defensive mons don't have recovery outside of rest from what I'm seeing. He has the Rhydon, which can be used defensively, but that would have to run rest. He has the Suicune, which definitely can be used defensively, but again would need rest. Celesteela, very good defensive mon, but does rely on Leech Seeds, so that's not always the most reliable move to rely on for recovery, but you know, it does its job well in OU for sure, and I've seen it do pretty well defensively in draft format. That said, I do think offensive Celesteela is a little bit better, but yeah, so what do you have to say about this team, Riz?
So I put this a bit higher than Jolt. I originally actually had number 3, but then I decided to lower it a little bit more. For me, like 3 to 7 are all actually pretty interchangeable, so it's kind of difficult for me, but yeah, the Celesteela, Latios, well, Jolt just read them off, but again, his Fairy Dragon Steel Core is pretty nice. Now, the reason why I like this team a lot more was just like his bulk is also really nice. He has, he has like not bulk, Mega Latios, Crocodile, Celesteela, Suicune, and then he even has Spike support and stuff. He's not the fastest, but he does have like support with Defrog from Mega Latios. It just, I don't know, I really like the Fairy Dragon Steel Core a lot, and that's why I put it a bit higher than Jolt, pretty much, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, that's what I thought was carrying him too, was the Fairy Dragon Steel Core is so good.
Yeah, it's a really good draft. I don't know, I like it a lot, but I can't really explain it too well. But yeah, I'm bad at
cool story, bro.
things.
All right, so should we go ahead and move on to the
great.
Carolina Pantherians? Pantherians.
Yes.
It's you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Carolina Pantherians. Let me look at this team a little bit. Wait, let me read the team. Oh no. Oh, I found it. Don't worry, guys. All right, so we got Tapu Bulu, Heatran, Crobat, Vaporeon, Gliscor, Alakazam, Conkeldurr, Mega Ampharos, Spiritomb, and Avalok. Okay, I remember this team. So Tapu Bulu, Heatran, that's actually a pretty popular core right now. We've seen a lot of people draft that recently. He has this is a Mega Ampharos team. So where did I end up putting him? I end up putting him number 11. So the thing about his draft is that he does have Alakazam and Crobat, but like his fast offense, again, I feel like isn't really the most. I mean, Crobat is versatile, but I know if he wanted to be a revenge killer, he's gonna have to run like Band or something, and then he has Alakazam, which is like not that versatile, and then his bulk again. I don't feel like Heatran can be versatile, but it has such a crutch with the 4 times weakness. Although he does have Tapu Bulu to help that a little bit more. But yeah, and I'm also not really convinced about Mega Ampharos. I don't feel like it is the best mon in the format at all. Just has a lot of, like, it's really bulky. It doesn't have, like, reliable recovery, which hurts it a little bit. Although Tapu Bulu with the Grassy Terrain can help that. I do like some parts, like, I do like the bulky offense that he has. Like, he has like Bulu, Heatran, Heatran as well, Conkeldurr, Mega Ampharos. It can look pretty good, but yeah, I just decided to put it pretty kind of low for that reason. And also the fact that Crobat is his only way to get rid of hazards unless he wants to run Defog on Gliscor or bring Avalug. And the fact that like Crobat is also weak to rocks. stuff like that. I guess his team isn't very rock weak, but I always like to have a pretty good defogger rapid spinner. But yeah.
All right. So then for my number 9 and Riz's number 8, we have the San Antonio Sparse, coached by Will the RNG Lord. So his team is Mega Kangaskhan, Mamoswine, Torn T, Muck, Alola, Delmies, Keldeo, Klefki, Volcarona, and Manectric, with Volcarona being the Z captain. So this team is interesting. So his offensive threats are something I wouldn't want to see in my worst nightmare. So he has the Mega Kang, Mamo, Torn T, Keldeo, Volcarona. Have fun. Like, seriously, have fun prepping for that team, because I don't know if there's going to be there's going to be very few counters to that combination. And just really the Mega Kangaskhan alone, as we all know, is an enormous threat to any team, just because it's able to hit twice very hard. It can even run Power Punch. It has the priority and Sucker Punch, as well as any coverage it possibly needs to be able to deal with opposing walls. So Mega Kangaskhan, very, very good. Coupling that with Mamo and Torn T, both very solid knockoff users, is going to make Mega Kang even that much better, having to not fear Rocky Helmet quite as much. And yeah, that just makes Mega King all the more better. Volcarona also good as a setup threat, and Keldeo just something that plows holes in opposing teams. Offense, fantastic. Can't say anything bad about his offense. His issue is his defense, and this kind of goes back to the same issue I had with Abe's team. The reason why Will is so much higher than Abe is because the offense is just freaking fantastic on this team. But his defense is Delmies, Alolan Muck, and Klefki. None of those have recovery. Delmies is almost always more of an Assault Vest variant, which is a good set, and I'm assuming that he plans to more play this draft offensively pretty much every week. I don't like the one-dimensionality of that. I think it needs to be more of a draft that can run a balanced build if it needs to. It needs to be a draft that can run more of a defensive balance build too. That's what the best drafts are, in my opinion. And this is definitely an all-in offensive draft, as the only way he's going to be able to take hits is from Assault Vest, Delmies, and maybe the occasional defensive Delmies. I don't think it gets any actual recovery. If it does, I'm sorry, I was wrong, but I don't think it gets recovery. And then the Alolan Muck can run Assault Vest. It can also just be naturally bulky as well. But again, no recovery outside of potentially Pain Split, but I'm not actually convinced that it gets Pain Split either. Off the top of my head, Klefki's only recovery is leftover, so none of those are going to be reliable walls for his team at all. So he's really going all in on offense, and that's why I consider this to be more of a middle of the road team, because he could go either way. He could go up in the power rankings, he could go down in the power rankings, and it all depends on how well he plays his offense and how well his opponents are able to prepare for his offense. And if his opponents are preparing well for the strategy that is obviously coming toward them with that heavy hardcore offense with Mega Kang, Mamo, Torn T, then he's not going to do very well this season. But if he is using that well, out prepping his opponents, then he's going to overrun his opponents with his offense. So we'll see how that goes. Definitely a scary team offensively, and he could go either way. So we'll see.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the Golden State War Turtles. So I have a Golden State War Turtles number 9. That is just around the middle point. Where did Jolt put them? Jolt put them number 7, so we have them pretty close together. His draft is Necrozma, Infernape, Celebi, Tentacruel, Scizor, Licky Licky, Cofagrigus, Mega Deontay, Noivern, Golem, and Spinda. So first of all, I really do like his team. There are some things I don't like. Like, I didn't like the Necrozma first round. I just don't think Necrozma is a first round pick. It can work for sure. I know, like, Trev really loves Necrozma, but like, it has like setup opportunities and stuff. It just, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot better round 1 picks around it, but it can work, and I think it's a really like diverse mon. What's really good about his team, like, he has Necrozma, Infernape, Celebi, which are all, like, his first 3 picks are super diverse, and that's really good with any draft, because diversity is really key and makes it difficult for your opponent to prep and stuff. The few things I didn't like about his draft too much was his bulk, like Licky Licky and Cofagrigus, along with Tentacruel. Just a bit, just kind of set up fodder a little bit. I like the Mons in general, but kind of a problem. Celebi can go offensive, but a lot of the time with Celebi, if you're running a defensive set, you might be like mono grass move or like grass move earth power, which can't touch some things as well. His offensive mon, his last 3 mons didn't really like as well. Like, I mean, he needed a dragon and Noivern, like fast and stuff, but just Noivern, Golem, Spinda just weren't the greatest. Obviously, Spinda was a meme pick. I get it, but not sure if Golem is going to be coming to many matches. But yeah, I just like his team synergizes really well. I just feel like it's a bit underwhelming in terms of the mons that were like drafted pretty much. Yeah.
You got the next one too.
Oh shit. All right. Let's see, power rankings tab. All right, so the next mon is due for Drapion. So I really like
the next mon.
Oh my god, the next person. All right. I'm sorry.
Paul, you're officially a Pokemon. I hope you feel happy now.
Paul is a Pokemon. What? Okay. Now the next team is due for Drapions. I really like Paul's team. He has Lando T, Finny, Skarm, Jolteon, Zoroark, Gengar, Tangela, Haxorus, Kangaskhan, Slowpoke, and Mega Gallade. So one thing that's really good about this draft is it's just really good offensively. He has a lot of momentum in like mons like Lando T, Jolteon, Zoroark, just like a lot of fast, hard-hitting stuff, as well as a lot of like diversity. Because like Lando T, obviously, like it's a really good offensive mon. It can go Scarf. It can go with the Z moves. Lando T is just such a great mon. But yeah, it can go bulky as well as like Skirming obviously can't go offensive, but like Tapu Fini, even though it's bulky, like used bulky a lot of the time, he can go like Calm Mind variants, which can throw his opponent off guard. In certain matchups, it can be really good. And it's not like Fini is forced to be a defogger either, because he has a Skarm. 2, he doesn't even need to bring hazard removal like every week. It might be nice just because he has a lot of momentum gainers. If he does decide to bring the momentum gainers, because like Lando T doesn't always have to have U-turn. Usually Jolteon's going to have like Volt Switch or maybe like Baton Pass. But yeah, it's not forced to be a defogger, which is really nice. And since he's not super weak to hazards, he can spike stack, even though I don't think he has a spinner. And he doesn't have to be afraid of having rocks on his side of the field. And he just has like a lot of diverse mons. Mega Gallade can go offensive, he can go even bulky. He has a Tangela, and Tangela is just a god. So yeah, I really like his team.
All right, so then for, I guess now we're moving into my top 4. I know we have 5 teams to go still, but we have my number 4 being the Toronto Luxrays, coached by Turk. Riz has him down at number 5, way down there at number 5. But you'll kind of hear the same story here with all of my top 4, in that I love all top 4 drafts. Like, I absolutely love them. I see very few obvious flaws with any of them, and for that reason I'm just going to praise them, because I really think they are really, really solid, and I would be surprised if any of these teams don't do very well this season. As Toronto has Mega Lopunny, Thundurus T, Reuniclus, Melodic, Zygarde 10%, Registeel, Serena, Diancie, Skuntank, Whirlipede, and Charizard, with the Thundurus T being the Z captain. Now this team is very good offensively and very good defensively. Offensively with the Mega Lopunny, Thundurus T, Zygarde 10%, and the Belly Drum Charizard, don't sleep on it, it's a set. That is very scary. That covers pretty much everything, honestly, and from personal experience, Mega Lopunny plus Thundy T is fantastic offensively. It can carry the team offensively, as just those two are so hard to switch into. Thundy T can beat all of his counters. Mega Lopunny struggles a little bit to beat its counters, but coupled with Zygarde and coupled with knockoff coming from the Thundy T, as well as knockoff coming from well, that might be the only knockoff user. I'm looking for other knockoff users. Does Skuntank get knockoff? I'm not sure. Anyway, no. Knockoff is really nice for Lopunny because everyone likes their Rocky helmets. But that combination, super solid offensively. But then defensively, the Reuniclus, which also can couple as an offensive mon. Definitely don't sleep on offensive Reuniclus. But defensively, the Reuniclus plus Melodic plus Registeel plus Serena plus Diancie. have fun, honestly. That's super good defensively. He might be slightly weak to fighting types, just a little bit. Not too bad, as the Reuniclus does wall out most of them. But if it is a fighting type that happens to have coverage for Reuniclus, I could see him struggling a little bit there. But overall, this team, super solid, and I would expect to see it in the top half of the power rankings all season.
All right, so next up is going to be Portland Trail Blazekins. Andrew, I had him, what did I have him? Number 3 as Jolt. Actually, I had him a bit lower at number 6. But I really like Andrew's draft right here. Excadrill, Titar, Latios, Raikou, Buzzwole, Mega Pidgeot, he has Granbull, his Magius, Quillfish, Lickitung, Tropius. Pretty cool mons, Tropius is a huge threat to any team. But he has, he has a Sand Core, obviously, and he has his Fairy Dragon. Well, his Fairy isn't very good. That's probably the biggest critique I'd have with this team. But just his first, I really love his first, 6 picks. Just really, he has offense as well as any mon that can go really bulky. His draft is really diverse, just really threatening. Because Mega Pidgeot, Excadrill, Mega Pidgeot plus Sand is a really great offensive core because Drill can break the steals for Mega Pidgeot, and then he just is able to get momentum with the Raikou, and Raikou can also be fat and stuff, so sometimes, as well as his lower picks though weren't the greatest, but I feel like his top half is good enough for it to be one of the top tier teams. So yeah.
All right, so then with my number 2 actually, and this is Riz's number 4, we have the Portland Timbers, coached by Togavor. Now his team is Starmie, Mega Charizard X, Nidoqueen, Tangrowth, Xurkitree, Cobalion, Cresselia, Slurpuff, a Selgor, and the god Diglett. So with the Z Captain being the Xurkitree. So this team, again, super solid offensively. Mega Charizard X, Xurkitree, have fun. Defensively, he also has the Nidoqueen, which obviously couples offensively as an enormous threat. The Cresselia, which can literally chew hits from anything. The Tangrowth, which chews hits from anything, especially with an Assault Vest in this gen. And Starmie being able to operate on both sides of the spectrum. So I really do love both the offensive and defensive versatility of this team. I really do think that's the biggest strength of this team, actually, in that all of his mons can perform several different roles and really well at that. And I'm just a big fan of how Togavor drafts. I don't know if you saw, if any of you might have watched me do power rankings last season at the CPC. I also had Togavor up in the top 3 because, again, it's the same drafting style. He drafts super versatile mons that can do all kinds of things as well as their primary job very well. And I think that's really the makings of a draft that's going to succeed throughout the season. Now, the one issue I have with this team, only one, he only has one Hazard Remover and he has a Mega Charizard X. If he happens to have a matchup where Starmie doesn't match up well, Mega Charizard X then is going to become very, very vulnerable to hazards. That's one thing that definitely could hurt him. Otherwise, the team is super solid. And honestly, if it weren't for that weakness, I might have had him at number 1. But outside of that weakness, very solid draft. I'm expecting big things out of this team.
All right. Are you done? So I'm going to talk about the next one.
Yes.
All right, sweet. So I got Orion Valley Guardians as my number 1. Joel actually put a number 3. This is Johnny Ricepool, if I do recall correctly. His team is Clefable, Latias, Thundy, Metagross, Roserade, Blaziken, Snorlax, Holoswine, and Mega Heracross. So I really love this team a lot. His Fairy Dragon Steel Core is just pretty. It's beautiful. He has Clefable, Latias, Metagross. That's just super solid. He has Snorlax, which is just obviously that just straight up puts him number 1 because Snorlax is the god, obviously.
Not biased.
But his offense as well, Latias, Thundy, and Mega Heracross, just super solid, as well as he just has a lot, just a ton of versatility. Any of his mons are just super versatile. Clef can go, versatility defensively and versatility. Okay, I'm saying that very badly, but he can go offensive or defensive with Clef. Same with Latias. They're just such great setup sweepers. Sunday I can do a lot of things offensively. Metagross as well. Same with the Roserade. He has Spike Stack. And it's not like his team is not super weak to hazards, so it's not like he's like pressure or defog even though he doesn't have a spinner. But yeah, I just really like the diversity of this draft, and I feel like his that core Clefable, Latias, and Metagross can pull him through a bit. So, yeah.
Yep, understandable. I really like that draft as well. Super solid.
That's what I say.
All right, so for my number 1 overall and Riz's number 2, I have the Angels of Behem. I'm not actually sure if this name is spelled this way on purpose. I thought it was supposed to be like Behem as in the Pokemon, but there's an I in this, so I'm really confused. But anyways, his draft is Landorus, Kieran Black. I'll just stop there. Hello, how did he get both of those Pokemon? Anyways, Greninja, Mega Aggron, Florges, Miltank, Blastoise, Gourgeist, Espeon, Luxray, and Rapidash, with Kieran Black being the Z captain. So, rip switch-ins. Lando I, Kieran Black, Greninja. Unfortunately, the Greninja does not hold the Z Crystal. Actually, in my opinion, with this draft, I would have made Greninja the Z captain because that just makes it all the more threatening offensively. But still, that combination, the Lando I, Kieran Black, Greninja, coupled with basically semi-stall for defense with the Mega Aggron, Florges, Blastoise, Miltank, Gourgeist, that is the makings of a championship team, in my opinion. As it's impossible, I would say it's impossible to prep for Lando I, Kieran Black. At least defensively. You can prep for it offensively, but the majority of offensive threats are going to be outsped by Greninja. And Life Orb Greninja does damage, especially to things that are more frail, and the fast things are generally more frail. So this man drafted really well, in my opinion. And Florges plus Mega Aggron, very, very hard to take on. The one weakness with this team, every team's going to have a weakness, I think, is its priority options, as all it really has for priority is Shadow Sneak coming from the Gourgeist, as well as Water Shuriken from the Greninja. I don't think it has any other priority users on this team. And with the general makeup of the team being roughly around the base 100 region, with the only exceptions, the only Pokemon exceeding that being the Espeon, the Rapidash, and the Greninja, I feel like that could potentially be a hindrance to him, but that's honestly minor whenever his offenses or his wall breaking potential is as great as it is. And if you look across the league, so many of the teams are definitely more balance oriented, many actually leaning more towards defense, and this team will have an exceptional matchup against all of those. And that's why I felt they were deserving of the number 1 spot, because they're going to have more often than not a very good matchup, and that can't necessarily be said for most of the other teams in the league. That said, I do think all of my top 4 definitely have that potential, just because their cores are so solid offensively and defensively. And yeah, really cool team. Not a big fan of the Luxray pick, but he had 3 points left. There's not going to be too much that's that good for 3 points anyways. So, you know, we'll see how that goes, I guess. Maybe Luxray can actually do something. But overall, love the team, and just like the others in my top 4, I definitely would not be surprised to see him with a championship at the end of the season. So that's all for my power rankings. Riz, you have anything else to say?
No.
No. Good talk, man. All right. Well, this concludes the preseason power rankings for CPC Season 4. I hope you did enjoy. Please leave a like and a comment below. Let us know what you thought about the power rankings. Maybe even leave your own power rankings in the comments, and we'll be happy to hear what you have to say on that. If you disagree with us, let us know on that too. Feel free. We're not perfect. And you, of course, are entitled to your opinion on where these very talented coaches should be placed in the power rankings. So I believe that about wraps this up. So we will see you all next time. Peace.
Bye.